Any tips for consistent aim on MnK? If you're not aim training, and I can attest to this because this affects me also. If you're not aim training every couple days, you will start noticing how inconsistent you are. When I was aim training every single day, even if it's just 10 minutes, if you aim train every day, and especially if you're focusing on your technique, when you start going into games, thinking about how you're trying to aim and what you're trying to do becomes a lot more naturally. The thing that you want to think about and the thing that you really need to consider is, let's just say you're using movement as an example. I'll use movement as an example. It's one thing to know how to do a wall jump, just like it's one thing to know how to flick from here to here. But it's another thing to teach yourself when to wall jump. When you do a wall jump, how are you going to adjust your aim based off that wall jump? And then when you start looking at like mouse and keyboard aim training, it's one thing to flick, but it's another thing to know like when to flick and the technique you're going to use to stop over top of your target and then adjust in. So the more that you aim train and the more that you practice thinking about how you're going to do certain things, when you start actually fighting people in game, instead of just trying to put your crosshair on them, you actually are able to take more time to think about the technique you're going to use, and then you take the time to execute the technique appropriately and accurately. So I would say it's one thing to aim train, it's another thing to practice and to train your technique. And then the more that you practice, the easier it is to implement that technique without really even thinking about it.